Northern Cali, here we come! No!
Oh, then tell me, Sean O'Farrell, tell me why you hurry so. Hush your vocal, hush and listen, and his cheeks were all aglow. I bear orders from the captain, get you ready quick and soon, for the pikes must be together by the rising of the moon. By the rising of the moon, by the rising of the moon, for the pikes must be together by the rising of the moon. Oh, then tell me, Sean O'Farrell, where the gathering is to be, in the old spot by the river, right well known to you and me.
I loved all the activities, but I feel like the activity that impacted me the most was probably when we went to Belfast, only because it's one thing to read about it and another thing to actually witness it. It was crazy to see, you know, that they really did have like these religious / political discrimination.
If there was an Irish flag, that meant you were Catholic, whereas if there was a Great British flag, that meant you were Protestant. And so it was flying to show that they were prideful, but it was also a warning to people and kind of saying, if you're not Catholic, then you shouldn't be in this neighborhood.
And it shook me. I was like, well, these are like 3-story high peace walls that just separate entire communities because there was so much hatred between two religions, which is really contradicting because they speak about you gotta love each other, and you know, it's really confusing.
We also have that in America, just in another concept. Here's maybe gangs and ethnicities. And I think how it impacted me, seeing maybe how little our problems are here versus how big the problems are there. Right here, you choose to be in a gang. Over there, you're born into being a Protestant or a Catholic. And I think that was the biggest thing that impacted me the most, knowing that those kids don't really get to choose to be part of any of that. They're born into it, and to that culture, knowing that they will never get along with the Catholic, they will never get along with the Protestants. That impacted me a lot.
For me, my favorite activity has to be, if it counts as an activity, is when we went to Bushmills for a trip to see this parade that was going on. And the reason it interests me is because all that passion that the people had for what they're all about and what their cause is, and like all the kids were into it, all the drum, it was all it was like military, and like people were hella into it.
My favorite activity was an activity where we met a gentleman named Phil. He was the one that actually ran all the parades.
He had us, as we sat in a circle, he had us all take off our shoes, and he collected all of our shoes and put them in the middle of the circle.
I had to act out that I was taking my daughter to go pick out some school shoes. And when we were there, she was talking about, oh, I want these sandals, and it was very innocent. And at the very end, he slammed a book on the ground, and that was supposed to be the bomb. He really didn't tell us whether we were Protestant or Catholic or if we deserved it or not, because either way we were humans, and either way we were still victims.
My favorite activity during the Ireland trip would probably have to be the coastering, because no matter if anybody was scared to jump off the cliff or if you were scared to heights or anything, everybody encouraged one another.
I face my fear, and I'm like super scared of heights, and I don't know how to swim, and I jumped off the rocks into the Atlantic Ocean.
And it was honestly really all about teamwork. No one got left behind. You were always helping somebody in front or behind you. That's my favorite.
My favorite training and I think where I took the most out of was probably one of our last trainings, where we learned how conflict happens, because I think it was easier for us to think that why can't they just get along? Why can the Protestant and Catholic put everything aside and just get along and make it so simple? And I think the guy that trained us helped us understand that it's not that simple.
And it was kind of like an iceberg, and at the top of the iceberg was the actual conflict happening, like it's either a fight or an argument or anything like that. And the bottom of the iceberg was actually the what was going around the argument, or like the ways that people saw the conflict.
Carmela impacted me a lot because it made me get out of my comfort zone.
I really gained confidence, if that's a skill.
Be kind and nice, helpful to everybody.
Look out for each other.
People skills, if that makes sense, like being more social, being more talkative.
I learned that to be a leader is not always like you are the one to talk. You have to be able to listen to people's opinions and their points of view.
I met a lot of people from all over the world, from Uganda to Germany to El Salvador. So I think I learned a lot of different cultures.
I'm really thankful that I got the opportunity to go to that island, because I feel as if I was still in America, I wouldn't have seen it. I wouldn't have gotten it, because you really get to relate and you get to understand, wow, this doesn't just happen in the United States, you know, where we're all diverse. It also happens in somewhere where everyone looks very similar.
It's nice to travel, but it's one thing to travel and it's another thing to actually talk to the communities and learn about their culture and sit down and have some real genuine talk.
It wasn't just all, training. We got to do a lot of activities. We played Ultimate Frisbee about 4 times, and it was amazing. I've never played Ultimate Frisbee before, so it was fun to do stuff like that. It was stuff that nobody's really gonna make fun of you for doing it or think you're weird for doing it. You could just act like yourself over there, and I think that's one of the parts that really made it that much better. It was fun. It was a different experience. It just something about it, just from the environment to just the people that were around you, it seemed like the perfect getaway.
It really makes you think how this program, ODAT, is really helping us.